Okay, so if you're still with me, let's begin closely exploring how our bodies and our brains work together. Understanding how the brain and the body connects and then disconnects helps us to understand why we react so strongly to certain situations without thinking, and then later those situations seem unimportant. When we start to look at the anatomy, the biology, and the neurology that make up our brains and bodies, it's really easy to get overwhelmed by how much information there is. Honestly, there's no way we can look at all the information available to us. Fortunately, we don't really need to. We do need to have some of the basic ideas to help us know why we practice certain skills. Usually, it helps us be more motivated to practice them. A critical principle and idea behind our bodies and trauma is this. Trauma is essentially a biological event that gets locked up and trapped in our bodies. As long as this trauma stays biologically locked up, healing through traditional talk therapy is going to be really limited. In short, talk therapy will likely never be enough to recover from chronic trauma. In fact, the area of our brain that's responsible for speech, it's called the Broca's area, actually shuts down when we have flashbacks and memories of our trauma. We literally can't speak about it as long as our bodies and our brains are reacting to it. To find healing, we have to take our full systems and not just our thoughts and words into account. At the core of this full system is our body and our brain. This has led Bessel van der Kolk, one of the most studied and likely influential experts in the field of trauma worldwide, to state, "It's amazing how many psychological problems involve difficulties with sleep, appetite, touch, digestion, and arousal. Any effective treatment for trauma has to address these basic housekeeping functions of the body." Here, van der Kolk seems to address the limits of talk therapy where trauma is the primary root of the problem. There must be more if true healing is going to take place. Another leading expert in the field of trauma recovery, Peter Levine, says it this way: "Therapeutic approaches that neglect the body, focusing mainly on thoughts, which is top-down processing, will consequently be limited. I propose instead that, in the initial stages of restorative work, bottom-up processing needs to be standard operating procedure. In other words, addressing a client's body speak first, and then gradually enlisting his or her emotion, perception, and cognition is not merely valuable, it's essential." Increasing our awareness of our body and its reactions to our circumstances is the idea of interoception. Interoception allows us to begin approaching our body with more of a sense of curiosity than fear. We begin to explore how our bodies have dealt with our traumas. This can actually lead to tolerating the sensations without becoming overwhelmed by them. And so, we start by paying attention to body function. Body function includes things like our heartbeat, breathing, digestion, sweat, and other functions of living that we mostly take for granted. Most of the time, we really don't pay much attention to our body function unless something disrupts it, like not being able to breathe, or having a really fast and pounding heart rate after we get startled or excited. Body function is connected to what's happening in our nervous system. And there's basically two sides of our automatic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, which has nothing to do with feeling sorry for anything, and the parasympathetic nervous system. The most important thing about this is that the sympathetic side is generally like stomping on the gas pedal to our symptoms. The parasympathetic side is like putting on the brakes. When they function together in harmony, they create this balance in our system. Unfortunately, trauma upsets this balance. Many survivors walk around riding both the gas and the brake pedal at the same time. This creates confusion in our body functions as well as in our other internal systems. In addition to body function, our muscles tense and relax in reaction to our day-to-day circumstances. When we're reminded of our trauma, whether we're aware of it or not, our muscles tighten and tense up immediately. If we carry this tension even when we're not in danger, this can lead a lot of times to chronic pain and discomfort, as well as to things like headaches and other health issues. Eventually, this ongoing muscle tension can become the normal way we experience our body. We live in this constant state of tightness and begin to believe that that's just the way we are. Identifying this tension and practicing ways to release the tension through relaxing our muscles is incredibly helpful. And this happens in two ways. The first is that it can improve how we feel in general. The second is that learning to identify and relax our muscles lets the tension teach us about our reactions. If we relax, then we can notice when we tense back up again. This helps us identify what actually led to that tension. This gives us more information to decide how we want to respond to that situation. If we're always in a constant state of tension, it's pretty hard to tell when something else caused us to be even more tight or tense. The third body element to pay attention to is our viscera. Our visceral organs are things like our stomach, our lungs, our heart, our kidneys, liver, everything that's an internal kind of organ. And even though they're internal organs, we can learn to pay attention to the situations that activate them or give us some kind of movement and tension in these areas. Butterflies in your stomach is probably a good example. As we'll see when we try to tie together ideas between the brain and the body, our visceral organs plays a huge role in the way we react to trauma triggers. It's not surprising that many people struggling with trauma and anxiety issues have lots of visceral problems. Upset stomachs, irritable bowel syndrome, and weight gain are all common. Heart problems, high blood pressure, panic attacks, rapid heart rate, and breathing struggles are also well known. Like our muscle tension, survivors often have come to believe that these are just symptoms they have to live with. In light of this, they stop paying attention to what triggers the symptoms. Learning to be aware of these organs and what activates them is another way to get more information about what causes them to react. For our work together, that's probably enough on our body to begin exploring ways to increase our awareness. We'll explore some of these techniques and skills a little bit more closely when we all get a chance to meet together. So looking back over our body, some of the important points are: trauma is a biological, body-based event that is literally locked up in our bodies. Unlocking the way trauma is stuck in our body may be the most important part of healing from trauma. Talk therapy by itself will likely never be enough to get over trauma. Interoception is the word to describe when we're paying attention to our bodies and how it reacts to situations. The three main parts of our body we will pay attention to are body function, muscle tension, and visceral organs. Body function includes heartbeat, breathing, and other things we can notice, as well as our sympathetic, think gas pedal, and parasympathetic, think the brakes, nervous system. Because it is a body-based problem, trauma can lead to many types of physical health issues that can be resolved if we just heal from the trauma. Let's go ahead and move on to a closer focus at what goes on in our brains.